Okay, and so in this section, we'll go over the OBPS components that you have to make in floor plan. So starting off, the most important component, that is the FAR. So for the calculation of FAR, you will be using the built up area layer, that is called block, whatever the block is, block 1, 2, and the floor, it could be -1, -2, whatever it is, 0, 1, 2, and at the end it will be built up area. And as you can see, it is written on the color code, it is written as per occupancy type. So as I showed you earlier in the drawing manual, you'll use the color code for the project you are making. So in this example, we have used the color code 11, and if your project is anything else, you will use the color code accordingly. So after making the built up area layer, if there is any deductions happening inside the built up area, if there is any ventilation shaft, lift shafts, or any kind of deduction that take place, you'll use the layer called block 1 floor, whatever the floor it is, and built up area deduct. It will have the same color code as the color code you used for the primary built up area layer. And after you make these two polygons, the system will deduct the any kind of ventilation shaft area or anything, and it will give the net total built up area that you have made, which will be going into the floor area calculation. So if you see in the reference file that I have shared with you in apartments case, if you see in any floor, I have made the entire built up area layer to showcase the entire profile of this floor. I've used the example block 1 floor 4 built up area, and because it is a apartment building, I've used the color code 14. So moving inside it, if there is any deductions happening, I'll use the deduct layer so that I could let the system know that there is a provision of deduction that has to take place, and then we calculate the net built up area that goes into the FAR calculation. So for the example that you see here, I've denoted this deduction part with the layer name block 1 floor 4 built up area deduct. So for each deduction that we have to take, we'll make the required deduction polygons here. So here also, if you can see, I have made block 1 floor 4 built up area deduct. So based on these deductions, you'll get the net built up area. Just to highlight a point here, just make sure that whenever you are making the built up area layer, you have to denote it in the color code, and it is very important that you use the correct color code here. So if you incorrectly use any kind of color code, the obviously the system will think of it as a different project, and it will start scrutinizing you based on the bylaw provision for that project. So it is important that you provide the right color code, and also under the property sections you have to denote it, the color code to it should be present here also. It shouldn't be by layer or by block. It should have the correct color code under the property section also. So even after you bring in the color code and the layer name from drawing template, just change the color code from by layer or by block to the required color code. Under index color, just put in the value and press yes. So this has to be consistent on each floor. As you can see under property section, it is color code 11 here. So the next feature is carpet area. This is not a mandatory requirement according to the provisions. If you provide this layer, it will calculate the carpet area, and obviously just like built up area, there is a deduction also provision that we have made. You can use this deduct layer similarly as you made in built up area to calculate the net carpet area in your project. Then we have a layer name called roof area. So for every project, at the top part of every block, you have to provide the this polygon that is called block, whatever the block is, then the final floor. So if you have roof at floor 2, you will provide block 1, floor 2 roof area, and it will have a color code 7. You will make that polygon accordingly. So if in the reference document, if you see in terrace plan, I've made this roof block 1 floor 1 roof area because it is happening in there is only one floor above zero floor. So I've named it block 1 floor 1 roof area, and the color code will be 7 here. So there are some cases where it is not color code dependent. So in those cases, even if it is bilayer, that is fine. But for polygons that are primary using the project type occupancies, you will have to denote it here also. So those examples are built up area, layer, building footprint. These you have to be sure that you reflect the color code on every places that you can.